Well, this is going to be interesting because I'm going to try and do this whilst at work. And I suppose it's a great place to talk about giving people power and how we unintentionally somehow give people power over us. And it's basically a case of how somebody's actions can make us feel this kind of thing, really. How an interaction with somebody else can make us feel negative or give us a negative feeling about ourselves or situation or this sort of thing. And therefore, in my opinion, that's given that person too much power over us. It's letting them have an influence or an impact or however you want to describe it over ourselves, over our own emotions, over our own thoughts, our own feelings, everything kind of internally like that. And I guess I want to talk about this because it's something that I know for sure. It happens to me. It happens to me a lot. I give people the ability to have too much power, and it sucks. And you'll have a situation, and it then leaves you questioning a lot. And for me, it's questioning, why is somebody treating you like that? Why does somebody treat you almost like a lesser human being? And it's a question that I've asked myself, and it's a question that I've tried to fumble through and find the answer to. And the reality of it is really sucky. And the irony of it is it starts, I guess, for me anyway, it starts with myself. What I can come to is the reason why people will eventually treat me the way that they do is ultimately down to a lack of respect. If you respected somebody, you wouldn't treat them pretty appallingly. If you respected somebody, you wouldn't treat them as a lesser human. If you respected somebody, you wouldn't be, just ridiculous towards them. So respect. Respect is a really tricky one because obviously, I guess it depends on how you view respect, but it's something that I suppose we take for granted, depending on where you come from. I would argue that there is a baseline of respect. Everybody should have like a level of respect automatically just because we're humans. You want to not make somebody's life a misery, not make somebody's life hell. You should respect them for their existence, kind of thing. Everything has its limits, obviously. There's a lot of arguments to be had regarding that, and that's a lot of political debate. I'm not getting into political debate. I am simply talking about as the individual. But respect ultimately, and it sucks to say, starts with yourself. How can I ultimately expect somebody to respect me if I don't necessarily respect myself? If I'm not confident in my own self, if I have very little self-esteem, self-confidence, or that kind of thing, you kind of don't respect yourself very well. So from my experience, it's a case of you will let somebody treat you pretty badly because you convince yourself you don't deserve to be treated any better. And if you feel that you don't deserve to be treated any better, then you're not going to stand up for yourself. You're not going to argue your case. You're not basically respecting yourself. So if you don't respect yourself, why is somebody else going to respect you? And it's tricky because this level of, I don't know how to explain it, but the level of low self-esteem, low self-confidence, feeling that you don't deserve anything, therefore you deserve what you get because you don't respect yourself. It all starts with what you pick up as you're growing, like what you pick up in childhood. What I'm fast learning is the way that I feel about myself, weirdly enough, as sort of a man, as the struggles that I have, it's through what I've witnessed and experienced of my dad. And it sucks because I basically watched him throughout my childhood years crumble, I guess. He's only ever wanted to have a loving family, a loving wife, and all that sort of stuff. And I remember in my young childhood years, the arguments that used to happen, and I used to see basically what that did for my dad, like how it shaped him. As a result, that has shaped me. So it's it's a case of my dad was stuck in a very, very random place where his father was abusive. And he's always said to us as kids that he never wanted to be anything like his dad. He never wanted to be abusive. He never wanted to be any of this. The other side of that coin is I always watched my dad backing down from any sort of confrontation with my mum. Even if he was right, he would always back down. He was always trying to be the voice of reason. He would always speak. He'd never raise his voice. He would always try and speak. And when they used to fall out as a kid, it was always my dad that would always apologize to us kids. It was always my dad that was made to feel that he was always in the wrong and he had to apologize for everything. And that becomes your what? That's your starting point. You know, this is my first role model. This is my first role model of my life, and I'm watching him navigate the world, and I'm soaking up how he does things and how the world does things to him, and I'm building this understanding that this is what happens. There's many a time that I can recall on where I questioned as a child what my dad did wrong and thinking he didn't do anything wrong. He wasn't in the wrong. But my learning of that situation was that doesn't matter because as the man, you're supposed to apologize for everything. You're supposed to back down. As a result of that, I look at my dad today and it's sad because you can see that his soul has just turned a bit grey, you know. He's not the sort of person that I wish he was because it feels that he's had to give up in order to keep the peace. The shocking thing is that I see myself walking the same path he did. The struggle for me is not wanting to, but not understanding how you go about that. So I see that my dad doesn't seem to be respected, or he wasn't respected necessarily a lot of the time by my mum. So it's like, this is what I've witnessed. This is what I feel like in my own situations when I'm seeing people now. I feel situations where, okay, I've been shown what I have to do. I have to back down from everything. I have to basically give up and, yeah, back down and do everything. And then when you're met with more and more and more frustration and confrontation, you start to question, well, why isn't it working? What's going wrong? I'm doing what I've been shown, I'm doing what I've been told, and it still causes arguments. And eventually, because we're all humans, we all have that breaking point where we hit that wall and we get to a point where enough is enough. The problem there is you haven't had any boundaries in place that whole time. You've been kind of mistreated and treated a little bit shady. You haven't been able to put any boundaries in place because if you've tried to put boundaries in place, people have always clapped back to you and almost made you feel wrong for doing so. So you haven't put boundaries in place, but that doesn't mean that you don't hit your limit. And when you hit your limit, it catches people by surprise because they haven't had the warnings coming up to it. They haven't had that, that indication of, hey, please don't do this, or they haven't had any boundaries being put down. So it's almost like a shock to them when they hit that final bang. I don't know how to break that cycle, I guess is the best way. My experience through my entire life has been, if I put a boundary down, I am pretty much told that that is wrong of me to do so. I'm not allowed boundaries. I have to do what is required of me by the other people. The moment that it crushes me and crushes me and crushes me to the point where I cannot be crushed anymore and I come back, that's when all hell breaks loose and I am the worst human being that's ever existed. In my mind, that is how life is. It's me that's the wrong person. I didn't do the right thing. At any point did I do the right thing. I am unable to see that, hang on a minute, I tried to set down boundaries to people and people didn't respect my boundaries. They're pretty shady for doing that. I'm unable to see that. I'm learning that this is the case, but it's really hard to basically change an entire behavior when you have a whole experience of doing things one way and you're being told that actually you should really look at doing things a different way. It's really tricky. I can understand and I get the words of what I need to do, but my experience is still cemented in. This is what I know. I know how this plays out. This is an entire new thing, and I don't know. It's mental. But in terms of respect is messy because you have to respect yourself. And that, for somebody who doesn't see any value in themselves, doesn't see what they bring to any situation, doesn't have much confidence, has really low self-esteem, is like so negative on themselves, how the devil do you respect yourself? You don't. You find it really hard to respect yourself. But the only time you realize that you're being mistreated is when you cannot be compressed anymore and you finally pop. That's when you realize I'm a human being with feelings and emotions. You can't treat me like this. But like I say, when you get to that point, it's too late anyway. You've been mistreated so much that it's expected that you're just going to roll over and take it. That when you clap back, you are made to feel the worst sort of person ever walked the planet. Because, well, you let me get away with this much. Why is there a problem now? That's the situation. So after speaking with my counselor about a lot of stuff today, there's a horrible, horrible realization that I have to start to respect myself. I don't know how you do that because I've been brought up with the influence that I do not matter and that everybody else matters before I do. So when it comes to respecting myself, when it comes to putting boundaries down for other people, that feels like an impossible challenge because in order for me to put boundaries down, what I'm essentially saying is, this matters more than you do, or I matter in this situation more than you do, or my thoughts, my feelings, my whatever matters in this situation more than yours do. And that feels like I'm being an absolute horrible human being because I've been brought up that everybody has value, everybody is important other than myself. Like everybody goes above me. So the moment you're asked to swap that around, it feels massively selfish, massively disrespectful, and horrible. It feels like it goes against every grain, every bone, everything. And it's just not cool. Strangely enough, the job that I work at has been more than just a job to me. It's been a great help in helping me kind of figure my way through all of this stuff. And I have this history of just shocking ways of doing stuff through life. And then I'm at this place of work. It feels like I've got a voice here. I'm able to disagree with my two bosses, and it doesn't kick off World War Three. It kicks off a, hey, let's go sit down, let's have a talk, let's just get everything there, see what your thoughts and the opinions are on things, what you're feeling, how can we help, what's the situation, and it makes me feel like, I don't know if I'd say respect is the word that I'm aiming for. It's where I'm going, but I don't know if it's where I'm there yet. But the difference of going through life and trying to say, hey, I don't know if this is such a good thing, and being shot down for it, versus being at this place of work and going, hey, I don't know if this is such a good thing, and being allowed to discuss it, being open to a discussion, being able to sit down and get things through, and it being a case of, okay, them turning to me and saying, we respect what you're saying to us. How can we help you? It feels really weird to work for a place where they make you feel more human than people have done when I've been in a relationship with them. I've just wanted people to take me for who I am when I'm in a relationship, and it doesn't seem to happen. In a place of work, it does. And they asked me, because we work in a place that there's quite a lot of us that are a little bit on a spectrum of some degree. I'm not going to lie. There's only, what is there? One, two. There's only five of us in total, and we all have our little problems. We've all had some form of depression, bipolar, anxiety. The scale, we cover it pretty well, and yet it's been one of the most welcoming and accepting and willing to work with everybody kind of places that I've ever experienced. And like I say, that's including any other places of work. That's including anything at home, friends, whatever. That's including relationships and everything. This place of work feels like it's a place of work where they care, which is very weird from a place of work, because a place of work you're supposed to turn up, check in, do your job, check out, get paid. That's it. These guys are built different, and they ask us the right questions. I kind of feel that I've got a little bit of respect here. I don't know if that's what they feel. They might feel completely different and just be like, "Ah, we're just letting him talk and waffle on." But I don't know. Everybody here seems to respect each other, even if we don't necessarily agree or see eye to eye on everything all the time. We respect each other for having an opinion, even if it's different. I feel a very different person when I'm at work to when I'm not at work. And I think that's why I like to be here so much, because it feels weirdly freeing. It feels that if I have a problem, I can talk to somebody without it kicking off in my face and me being the issue. Without somebody turning around and, if I'm putting a boundary down at work, it's accepted as a boundary. It's like, fair enough, we'll see what we can do around it. Rather than, look at relationships. I put a boundary down in a relationship, all of a sudden I'm a bad guy. It's horrible to feel that you don't respect yourself. It's horrible to know that. It's even worse to know that that is your problem, why other people don't respect you. I've grown up giving too much faith in humanity and that people are going to treat you decent, because why wouldn't you? Why would you treat somebody horribly? It's a fellow human. Why would you treat anybody with disrespect just because? But because of my experience as a kid, because of what I've witnessed, because of what I've soaked up as my learning, you start to get this very strange understanding that unintentionally you are seeking out what you know, and what you know is not good, but you don't know the other side of it. So you're seeking out to get mistreated because it's what you've witnessed is what the world is supposed to do. That's a very tricky cycle to break. And it sounds like it starts to be broken with setting boundaries, having some self-respect, doing all this kind of stuff, all of which seems scary because I don't know how it looks. I don't know how it works. It's never happened. And when I have tried to do it, I've always been bitten off for it. So it's basically being told to do something that you've always had negative reinforcement for doing. But people telling you that you, as the individual, you are right to do those things. Don't listen to the negative reinforcement. That's just people trying to take that control again, giving them too much power by letting them have their say and tell you that you're wrong. We give people too much power by thinking that we don't deserve to be treated any better than what we get treated. If you accept that people will treat you badly, you are giving them all the power in the world. And that's what I've been doing. It's what I've done. It's what's repeated over and over and over again. Because watching my dad grow up, I learned that if you try and put boundaries in, there's a threat of divorce, there's a threat of getting kicked out of your house, there's a threat of all this sort of stuff. And you basically lose the, I don't know, the love, the hope, the future that you've been trying to build all that time. You don't deserve to be shit on though. Just don't. This was a toughie, so yeah, I apologise. I know it's taken a while. There's just a lot of stuff, like counselling has got really deep now, like really deep, and it's really hard work every week, and it's really fatiguing. I'm still not sleeping, which is crippling me, but one thing at a time, I guess. One thing at a time, we'll get there. I'm at a situation now where I'm kind of losing hope in not humanity, but I'm losing hope in, I suppose it's who I am and the people that I find, and thinking that I extend a hand of human kindness to people that I thought were better than what they were, only to basically to be shat all over, mistreated, treated like I'm a lesser human, and for people to think that's okay. And eventually it gets to a point where you're sick of it and you feel that you can either go one or two ways. Because it's how you've been treated for your entire existence, you feel like if this is how it's going to carry on, you have that what's the point feeling. But thankfully, counseling and stuff, there's people telling you that, hey, no, you don't have to be treated like this. You've just got to learn that some people, as much as you want to care for somebody, they're not good for you. They're just not good for you. And if people are going to treat you really, really poorly, they're showing that they're really not good for you. You've got to learn to let them go. And it's really, really hard to say that because there's very much somebody in mind when I say that. But at the same time, they haven't treated me like a human either. So why is it such a struggle to put my big boy pants on, get some self-respect, and just not let them treat me like that anymore? Instead, there's this fear that I think that everybody's going through something, and I give them the excuse of they're probably hurt and they're going through something, that's why they treat me like that. I give people way too much freedom to mess me around because I I think I'm starting to understand that I don't believe that a person would choose to be that kind of nasty just because it's their choice. There's an excuse that they're that kind of nasty because they're going through something, because nobody would ever treat another human in the way that people do. I don't want to feel that humanity is broke. I don't want to feel that humanity is screwed, but the experience is telling me that the humanity that I feel from from others rather is dwindling. And for whatever reason, it's like I'm stood solid trying to prove a point. That's why I'll put up with so much shit, because I'm trying to prove that I am stronger in terms of humanity. Like, I don't know how to explain that one. It's a tricky one, but not to be beaten by hate, but love will always will always win over, sorry. And it's almost like you put up with so much rubbish because love always wins, right? People will try and do whatever they can to push you away, push you away, push you away. And if you just still stand strong, eventually they'll get tired of trying to push and realize that whatever they're trying to run from, whatever they're trying to, push away or blame you for or whatever else is just their own struggles. And if they just stopped and realize that you're still there like a rock and won't get pushed away so easy, that maybe you care. But ultimately, that's not how it goes at all. You just get shat all over and you convince yourself that you don't deserve to be treated any better. But let's be honest, that is absolutely ridiculous. Just got to get some self-respect, some self-esteem, some self-confidence, and feel like, I want to say comfortable. Comfortable is not the right word, but feel okay with saying to somebody, I'm not going to let you treat me like that anymore. And if I have to turn my back and walk away, then so be it. And be okay with what that means. Because ultimately, what that means is you're not walking away from the what ifs. You're not walking away from what it could have been. You're walking away from somebody who's been treating you pretty shit. And that, walking away from somebody who has been treating you poorly, can only mean you're free from that, which is only a positive thing. Surely, it has to be, right? You can always think on the what ifs and the it could have beens, but if you remember the reason why you walked away in the first place, that's got to be the strength. I appreciate you guys. I hope this video has been okay. Hope to see you again some other time. Take it easy, guys. Bye for now. Bye, everybody.